Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're digging into something called vibe coding. It's popped up fairly recently in software development.
Right, it's essentially using those big, large language models, LLMs, to, well, generate code from just talking or typing in plain English.
And the term itself, vibe coding, seems to have come from Andrew Karpathy. He's with OpenAI, formerly Tesla.
Yeah, he coined it just this past February 2025, so really new terminology.
Definitely. And for this deep dive, we've got a whole pile of material you send over, articles, plenty of forum discussions.
Lots to get through. We're aiming to really get a handle on what vibe coding is all about. It certainly stirred up a lot of conversation, some excitement, some definite skepticism, too, in the programming world.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to unpack it. What is it, really? What are the potential upsides people are talking about?
And importantly, what are the limitations? The concerns. We want to cut through some of the noise,
Exactly. Give you, the listener, a clear picture of where things stand with this evolving landscape. Looking past the hype, but also past the maybe overly cautious takes.
Sounds good.
So let's start right there. What exactly is vibe coding? How did Karpathy describe it?
Well, the way Karpathy put it, it's much more conversational. Like, a programmer uses natural language, maybe even just speaks commands.
Like talking to the computer.
Pretty much. Telling the AI what code you want. He had this phrase, something like seeing things, saying them, running them, and copy-pasting.
Okay, that's quite different from traditional coding.
Totally different. It's a shift away from writing every single line meticulously.
And it seems like it's not just theory. I saw this statistic from Y Combinator, the startup incubator.
Oh, yeah? What was that?
Back in March this year, they said 25%, a quarter, of their winter 2025 batch startups had code bases that were 95% AI generated.
Wow. Okay, 95%. That's not trivial. That really shows it's happening. It's a real trend.
Right. So how does this really stack up against, the old way, traditional programming?
Well, traditionally, you need a deep, deep understanding of syntax, logic, all the concepts. You're crafting it line by line.
Years of learning and practice.
Exactly. With vibe coding, the idea is the AI takes your natural language description, figures out the code, maybe even pulls together different open source bits.
And explains it.
Yeah, and can sometimes provide explanations too. It's all part of this bigger picture of AI just fundamentally changing how software gets made.
Okay, I think I'm getting the picture. So let's talk benefits. Why are some people so excited about this? What's the potential upside?
One of the biggest things you hear is democratization, making coding accessible.
To people who aren't programmers now.
Precisely. Think about companies like Lovable. Their whole mission statement is about empowering the, quote, 99% who don't code.
So someone with a great idea but no coding background could actually build something.
That's the potential, yeah. It could seriously lower the barrier to entry for creating software. Imagine the innovation that might unlock.
That is a pretty powerful idea. What else? Are there other advantages being talked about?
Speed. Definitely speed. And rapid prototyping.
Getting ideas off the ground faster.
Exactly. IBM pointed this out. Teams can go from just a concept to a functional prototype much, much quicker.
Which is huge for testing ideas, right?
Yeah.
Before you sink tons of resources into full development.
Absolutely. You can see if something actually works or meets a need much earlier on.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about for people who are already programmers, experienced developers? Is there anything in it for them?
Yeah, there seems to be. Some engineers interviewed by IE Spectrum, they mentioned it being useful for learning.
Learning new languages or tools.
Right. Instead of wading through documentation for hours, you could maybe prompt the AI for basic structures or examples in a new language you're picking up. It could speed up that learning curve.
Okay, that's interesting.
And we also heard, anecdotal stuff, like a senior developer claiming they coded 4x faster using LLMs.
4 times faster. That's a lot.
It sounds amazing, doesn't it? But, you have to ask, does that speed come at a cost? Like understanding the code properly or introducing subtle bugs?
Good point. The classic speed versus quality trade-off.
Yeah, understanding that balance is probably key.
Are there actual examples of projects built this way, like beyond just experiments?
There are. We saw mention of a Chrome extension project, something for collecting web content that was apparently built using vibe coding. So it's being used for tangible things.
Okay.
And just looking through forum chats, people suggest that for like personal projects or simpler one-off tasks, it can be a really quick way to get something done.
All right. So potential for speed, accessibility, even helping experienced devs learn. Seems like a lot of positives.
Potentially,
But there's always a but, isn't there? It can't all be smooth sailing. What are the limitations, the concerns people are raising?
Oh, definitely. A huge one is code comprehension, understanding the code.
Meaning, if the AI writes it, do you really know what it's doing?
Exactly. If you're just prompting and getting code back without fully grasping the logic, that's risky. It could lead to bugs down the line, errors, maybe even serious security holes.
Someone used an analogy. Something about driving.
Yeah, driving a car with your eyes closed, it really sticks, doesn't it? You might move forward for a bit, but you don't see the dangers.
That's a really critical point. If you don't understand it, how can you fix it when it breaks? Or maintain it?
Right. Or even know if it's doing something malicious under the hood. And then there's optimization.
Meaning the AI code might not be very efficient.
It might not be. It might work functionally, but it could be slower, use more memory, more resources than code carefully crafted by an expert human.
Why is that?
Well, current LLMs are often trained to produce code that looks like plausible code they've seen before, based on patterns. They're not necessarily analyzing the problem for the absolute best performing solution in that specific context.
Okay, so fluency over performance sometimes?
Could be. And then there's a more philosophical point. Some people talk about a lack of intent or artistry.
Artistry in code? That's interesting.
Yeah, the idea that really good human-written code isn't just functional. It can be elegant, clear, well-structured. It shows a deep understanding. Maybe the AI misses that.
And practically speaking, does the ease of generating code cause problems?
It can. There's this thing called feature creep.
Where you just keep adding more stuff because it's easy?
Pretty much.
Beautiful.
Someone trying vibe coding for game development mentioned this. It's so easy to generate something that you just keep asking for more features without maybe focusing on the core gameplay or solving the main problem.
Right. Getting distracted by the possibilities.
And we even saw this funny story where an AI assistant, Cursors, I think, actually refused to generate code.
Refused. Why?
It basically told the user they should figure out the logic themselves first.
That's kind of ironic. Maybe the AI knows its limits.
Maybe. It definitely speaks to the skepticism about whether vibe coding on its own can really produce, say, a complex, polished game or truly production-ready enterprise-level software.
Right. There are doubts about its capability for complexity.
Big time. And related to that is maintainability. What happens when these vibe-coded projects get bigger?
If the foundation isn't fully understood.
Making changes or adding features later could become a nightmare. Really difficult, maybe impossible without rewriting chunks.
And security. We touched on it, but that seems like a major red flag.
It really is. A huge concern is that AI-generated code often bypasses the usual checks and balances.
Like code reviews by other humans. Security scans.
Exactly. Those processes are there for a reason. Experienced developers are genuinely worried we could see more security breaches if lots of unreviewed or poorly understood AI code gets into commercial software.
Especially with sensitive data involved. That's worrying.
Definitely. And it's not just about bugs the AI might accidentally introduce. It's also about where the AI learned from.
You mean it's trained on existing code?
Primarily, yes. Vast amounts of it. Which is great for common patterns, but it means LLMs might struggle to invent truly new solutions. They're mostly remixing what they've already seen.
So maybe not great for cutting-edge problems.
Potentially. And they don't always get it right, even with standard stuff.
Yeah.
We saw reports of AI spitting out code that just wouldn't compile, needed significant fixing by a human.
So it's a tool, maybe a powerful one, but not magic, not infallible.
Precisely. It still requires human oversight, human understanding.
Which brings us to something else really interesting that came through in the materials, that the human side of all this, the emotional reactions.
Oh, yeah, that was striking. You see these strong feelings coming out in the programming community.
Like what?
Well, opinions like, good games are made by humans. There's a real skepticism about giving AI credit for the creative act, the work, of building something complex.
A sort of protectiveness over the craft.
Maybe. And also, you sense some frustration, like developers feel non-programmers, maybe seeing how easy AI makes some things look, might underestimate just how complex software development really is.
I can see that. If an AI can whip up something quickly, it might devalue the years of skill it takes to build something robust and reliable.
Exactly. That perception gap seems to cause some friction.
And there's a difference between using this for, say, a personal hobby project versus a massive enterprise system, right?
Absolutely critical distinction. Using vibe coding for your own little app is one thing. Using it for a bank's core systems with sensitive data and huge security needs, that's a completely different ballgame.
Where human expertise is non-negotiable.
You'd hope so. The general feeling seems to be AI can help with tedious bits, maybe generate boilerplate code, but the really hard, complex problem solving, that still needs humans. Deep understanding.
This actually connects to another thread we saw, emotion-driven development, EDD.
Yeah, that was fascinating. The idea of acknowledging and even tracking developers' feelings about tasks.
Using emojis for planning. Like, how does this task make you feel?
Sort of like that, yeah. Like a form of planning poker, but for emotional assessment. It highlights that programming isn't purely logical. Emotions are deeply involved.
That makes sense. Programming can be an emotional roller coaster, can't it?
Totally. Think about it. The curiosity when you start something new, the self-doubt when you hit a wall, that sheer dread sometimes.
Oh yeah, been there.
But also the determination to figure it out, the joy, the satisfaction when it finally clicks, and the frustration when it doesn't.
It's all in there.
Right, and recognizing those emotions is important. There was mention of techniques like cognitive diffusion.
What's that?
It's like a mindfulness technique. Instead of thinking, I am frustrated, you shift to frustration is present. You observe the emotion without letting it define you.
Creating a little distance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It helps you manage those feelings more effectively. And the argument is, being better at working with your emotions actually helps you become a better developer.
That's a great point. It's a human activity, after all. Logic and emotion working together, or sometimes against each other.
Mm-hmm. And this idea of the human element connects to another perspective we saw, that maybe programming shouldn't always be about rigid rules.
How so?
Well, the idea that sometimes, especially at the surface level, code should be more intuitive, lean towards human understanding, even if it's not the absolute strictest interpretation of a rule.
Kind of like natural language being a bit fuzzy sometimes.
A bit, yeah. It links to this concept in programming called do what I mean, or DWIM.
You what I mean?
Yeah. Should the programming language try to guess your intent, even if you typed something slightly wrong? Or should it demand absolute precision? There's a debate there.
Interesting trade-off between helpfulness and potential ambiguity.
Exactly. And it all ties back to how humans think and interact with these systems.
Right.
And how knowledge itself isn't just data.
What do you mean?
Like, learning to code doesn't just mean, syntax. It can actually change how you see the world, the possibilities. Like, learning a new spoken language opens up new ways to think.
That's a deep thought. Changes your mental models.
Right.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Summarizing our deep dive into vibe coding.
Oh!
It's definitely real. It's moving fast.
For sure. And it offers some pretty compelling potential upside speed, getting more people involved in creating software.
But, and it's a big but, it comes with serious question marks. Code quality, really understanding what's being generated, maintainability, and especially security risks.
Absolutely. And the reaction from programmers reflects that complexity. It's all over the map. Real enthusiasm, cautious adoption, strong skepticism, and, as we saw, some pretty strong emotions tied up in it, too.
So for you, our listener, interested in getting knowledge quickly but also thoroughly, understanding these nuances is key, isn't it?
Definitely. Seeing both the promise and the pitfalls of vibe coding helps you navigate what's happening in tech right now. It's about looking past the headlines.
Right. Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
As these AI tools get woven more and more into how software is made, how is our actual definition of programmer going to change? What does that title even mean in 5-10 years?
Good question.
And maybe more importantly, what's the enduring value of that deep human understanding of code, of systems, of problem solving?
Finding that balance, right. Leveraging AI for efficiency without losing the critical human element, the expertise needed to build and maintain the complex systems we rely on.
Exactly. How do we keep that human insight central? Something to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Yeah.